For this training, what I want to help expose potentially is 3 must knows before hiring more groomers or expanding to another location or multiple locations. Now, my whole, reason I'm hosting this is my goal for you really is to try to help you identify if it's the right time to consider expanding. By all means, I recommend you always talk to a financial advisor, accountant, and everyone all in your team to make sure it's the right time to do the right thing. But this is just a preliminary step of consideration. So the 3 main focuses, and I'll deep dive into each one, but really is like, what kind of, expansion are you looking at getting into? Are you wanting to add another grooming mobile unit? Are you looking to add another location? Are you looking to add 1, 2, 3 more groomers? The second piece of that is, well, what's the ultimate goal from it? What do you look like? What do you hope to achieve? Is it more financial backing? Is it potentially more free time? Do you want to manage versus actually physically grooming dogs? Or are you looking at mentoring? The last piece is, doing the math on it to try to determine, hey, do I need to optimize my existing business to make it more profitable before I consider expanding to more groomers or more facilities? Or can I literally just open shop the exact same way that I currently am operating somewhere else and it be profitable? So without further ado, we'll go into a little bit of a whiteboard to draw this out a bit. All right. So what kind of expansion? I mean, you got to be certain about this. You probably know, but don't be opposed to considering any of the alternatives, because it will make more sense once we figure out your ultimate goal. But you might realize that, oh, actually, if I want to meet my goal, the best way to do that is not exactly the same path that you thought. So what kind of expansion? You have some options. It's not doing what I want it to. There we go. Let's say another mobile unit, more groomers or a groomer. And then the last one is new facility or location, or multiple ones, okay? So whichever option you're looking at, consider all 3. I'm not suggesting that one of them works better than the other. It really depends on what your goals are. Next piece, ultimate goal. Okay, so what is it? Why do you want to do this? Most of the time, it comes down to people wanting to have more financial freedom. And quite honestly, not for everyone, but just be honest with yourself is like, hey, am I opening this other facility because the reality is I want to make more money? If that's the case, that's fine, but that will expose something else. So let's say money. Another reason could be anything, like just write it down yourself, what your reasons are. Let's say because you want to mentor. So maybe you're really excited about educating people and upcoming groomers, and you want to hire more groomers because you want to spread your knowledge far and wide and leave a legacy before you potentially retire. I mean, that's cool too. But what at the base, what is your like ultimate goal from it? Because the direction I take is going to be very different, whether I'm really more focused on a certain monetary amount or mentoring. You can be focused on all of them, but like triage it as far as this is number one. Money's number one for me, or mentoring's number one for me. I need to make money while I'm mentoring, so I got to be mindful of it, but it's not my top priority. Just be honest with yourself. Maybe helping more families would be another reason. Maybe you live in an area where there's not a lot of groomers or good ones that are reputable or whatever, and you're like, I want to spread my wings farther so I can help more dogs, feel good, and more humans be happy with how their dog looks. All right. So I'll unpack this number 2 a little bit more and how it applies to number 1. So for example, let's say it's mostly focused on money. The question would be how much? So the next question you want to ask yourself, well, okay, let's say magic wand, if I added another groomer or another location or a mobile unit or whatever, how much money am I really looking at making extra per month? And that's after expenses, not like gross, but net. You're like, well, really, I'd like to make an extra $3,000 per month. I'm just making this number up. You can figure out yourself. Okay, so then $3,000, well, there might be an easier way to do that with your existing services. There might not be. One option might be adding a groomer, but you're going to have to be mindful of, well, what do I have to charge my client versus what I'm paying the groomer? An option, a simpler option, maybe just for consideration for you now, is actually a bather, let's say. So instead of a groomer, you hire someone that's a bather. Well, that way you can take more dogs, earn more income. You don't have to pay them as much as a groomer, and their skill set doesn't have to be as high. I'm not saying that's the answer, but that's a consideration. So, if I added a bather, then the next question would be, well, how many extra dogs could I take per week with having a bather? So let's just pretend you choose a bather. Well, they're bathing and they're brushing out and they're doing XYZ. That allows me to take an extra 8 dogs a week. Okay. Well, what does that equal per month? Oh, that's approximately 32 dogs. Okay. Well, generally speaking, what is each dog are we able to charge per dog? Well, let's just say for easy figuring in my own brain, it's $100. Okay, well, there's $3,200 right there. Now, obviously, that's gross. What am I going to have to pay my bather? Well, they're working 8 hours per week, let's say, times 4 weeks. They've got 32 hours in the month, and I'm going to pay them $15. Well, then you have to subtract, your 32 times $15 equals, I'm not sure, so I'm going to have to calculate that. It'll take me one brief moment. Those math whizzes out there, comment it, see if you can get it commented before I actually do it. $480. So let's just pretend you have to pay this bather, $480. Well, then you realize that, I'm at about 2720, I think, $2,720 per month. I'm almost at my goal for those 8 dogs per week. So then you might be like, okay, well, this makes a lot more sense than me opening up a whole nother facility or buying a mobile unit for $50,000 or $100,000 or whatever they cost these days, and all the other things. So that's why it's important to know what your motivation is, and also like what success looks like. So the first part, this is like motivation A. Why are you motivated? And then B is, what does success look like? So if you're mentoring, success might look like I mentor 10 per year. That's going to affect maybe which option I choose above. In any event, you get the point. Helping, that might be a similar thing. Like, well, what would make me feel like I helped enough? Okay, we consistently added 15 new clients per month for the calendar year. That's success to me. So what's that? 150, 165, 180, right? Yeah. So 180 clients, new clients. That's what success looks like to me. Okay, fair enough. But you need some kind of a benchmark to identify whether or not, like, where you're going and what success looks like. Now, the last piece of it is, also figuring out, okay, what are my total monthly expenses for my current location or unit? This includes your own wage. This includes product. This includes rent, everything it costs for you to make money. So let's just, for easy figuring, say it's $10,000. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. Obviously, it depends. Now, what we want to look at is, what are your total gross monthly sales? Okay, well, we're actually bringing in, after everything's paid, there's still money left over. But our total monthly sales are, let's just say, 11,500. Okay. So if it's 11,500, what I'm looking at is, your business, profits above all of your expenses, $1,500 a month. So if you open another location and it was operating at the same way your current one is, which obviously would probably take some time for that to happen, you're probably going to top out unless you have more groomers. But if it's done the exact same way, you're going to top out at 1,500. Is that going to meet your goal? Well, if your goal is 3,000, I mean, like, you might be better off to consider hiring a bather or a groomer in site versus adding a secondary location. I'm not suggesting you do anything. Once again, I'm just trying to help you do the math and figure out a little bit. Now, anyways, to go a little bit deeper into this piece, it's like, well, what would you pay your potential new team member? If it's a full groomer who has a lot of experience, is it going to be commission? Is it going to be hourly? Who's in charge of finding new clients? Do they get a bonus or a cut if they bring in new clients into the facility? Those are all things that you have to consider and try to have a plan for before you move forward. Don't do it on the fly. I've done it. Didn't work that well. It became incredibly costly. And I'm trying to share some of my experience with making some missteps to help you prevent that. But I'm often surprised at how much, potential businesses are looking to expand that they don't kind of do a similar exercise as this. And I mean, fair enough. I didn't do it either, but now I do. Now I'm more mindful of it. Because another issue that I've heard and talked with groomers is they don't realize how profitable their business actually is. So they don't know what this number is right here. They're like, I don't know. I'm not sure what our monthly expenses are versus how much our gross monthly sales are. I'm like, okay, well, you should probably figure that out. And then sometimes they find out, we're just breaking even after wages are paid. And if I replaced myself and I took myself out of being a groomer, I'd have to pay another groomer the same amount. So we wouldn't actually be making anything other than the $1,500 or nothing. I talked to one lady where she's like, she didn't realize that if she replaced herself, that she would make no money. Because she's like, well, what do you mean I wouldn't make any money? I'm like, well, you just told me you're going to pay the other groomers the same that you're going to pay, that you pay yourself. So if you physically remove yourself from the business and you put in another human, they're the ones collecting the check now. So your business is not as profitable unless you're working in it as an employee. Oh, so it's like, so we got to be mindful of these. Okay. Now, obviously I could go on at length about this. But for example, if you wanted a little bit more assistance, simply comment insight if you want me to provide a business audit to see if and when might be a good time for you to consider expanding. That's about it for today. Feel free to comment if you found any value from this presentation or if you have any questions. Good day.